Hello, surf enthusiasts, and welcome to your new week in all that is wonderful in the world of surfing. Hopefully, the weekend was a little restful for you. Like anybody else, stuck in these COVID quarantine days, I've been wildly entertaining myself with Amazon. I ordered a chicken and an egg the other day. I'll let you know. Yeah, it's also been weird in my house. I just got yelled at by my daughter. She was mad. She said, "You haven't been listening to a thing I've said." And I thought, it's a weird way to start a conversation, but whatever. This week, our conversation is going to change in that the weekly response changes ever so slightly. You individually might not be writing as much, but you'll be responding to others as well. So, we're going to take a look at that as well as discuss your extra credit opportunity. Hopefully, you took advantage of that. A bunch of great films in there. The first night was especially strong. I know some of you did it for uni as well, so I'm sure you got to see a number of things, and those can be potential sources if you want to use those later in a last paper, perhaps, or in anything really where it's relevant. By all means, bring those in. So we'll look at the extra credit opportunity as well as a new module I have for you as you guys try to write for the humanities and compose these weekly responses. There are some housekeeping matters that we should really attend to. It's not just a free-for-all. You are doing college here. Even though it's about surfing, we're still doing college. So we'll kind of look at what some of those things are. And then we'll take a look at how the week is going to sort of unfold for you slightly differently. There's two midweek due dates this week. So you'll want to be sure to pay attention and not miss those. All right? So let's take a look at the week together and where the assignments are housed, and then we'll get you on your way. Okay, everybody, here's your extra credit opportunity. I hope you were able to get engaged with some of these this weekend. They are great films. If you want the extra credit, here's what you got to do. You're to choose 3 films, and in a response of about 2 paragraphs per film, detail the areas that I've asked you to address in here. In total, the whole thing should be at about a page and a half, right? Where do you submit it? I'm glad you asked. If you hit reply, you can copy and paste your response straight into here, or you can attach the document here with a little message saying see document, however you want to handle it. But that's what you have to do. And here, right underneath the announcement itself, is where you submit it. That way everything's all in one place, and you don't run the risk of me losing it in my email inbox. This last weekly announcement, hopefully you've seen. I'm going to detail a bit of this in a second, but what I'm asking you to do is take a look at a new module I've installed called Grading Materials, particularly for 2 things that seem to trip us up: how to handle titles and how to include quotes. Last quick note, do yourselves a favor, treat your responses to a title, right? The idea that people don't judge a book by its cover is a lie. It's the first thing that it gets judged. If the thing isn't selling, that's usually the first thing that gets changed. You don't want your very opening of your essay to be a bland, weak response. Instead, treat yourself to a title, something clever. Quick, easy formula is usually something clever, something smart, right? So maybe a quote or a bit of a quote, and then the colon, and then, a more detailed title. An analysis of sexual gender in the endless summer. But treat yourself to one. Okay. So let's take a look at the grading modules and then the week assignments. The grading material module is simply that. It's material that is valuable to you beyond the study of surfing. Very few of you are going to be going on to become surf scholars. So instead, we want you to have the transferable skills that are good for any class in the humanities, as well as most any class in a study of a liberal arts college, which is what you attend. I noticed that a bunch of us are a little wishy-washy on what constitutes MLA. So I've given you some links here to sort of help, including a sample paper. If yours doesn't look like that one, it's wrong. Fix it so that it looks like that one. The Writing Center is a great help for this as well. Quick side note, all of us use citation machines, myself included, but do not trust that machine to make it right. You should know your stuff anyway, whether it's MLA, APA, Turabian, or some other system that they haven't come up yet. The citation machine is only an algorithm. You are the human in control. Double check your things and make sure that they're right. Under punctuation, I've given some links to some some regular issues I'm beginning to see show up. These are pretty common across most of the populace, so don't feel as if you're being chastised, but do make use of them in order to not keep repeating the same mistake, right? This everyone should check out. These links walk you through the integration of quotes, how to avoid a dropped or naked quote, what to capitalize in quote, because really if you're going to be doing this college education thing, you should probably be doing it in a way that shows you are college educated. These are the things that begin to separate you later in your professional life. If you don't need a personal editor to make sense of your email or your work document, so much the better for you, right? So while not everything in this class is transferable, some things are. We've run into some already. Here's another, right? You've gained the idea that you might have in the zine gained use of some new software or technology. Here's a chance to gain control of some common communicational hazards and issues. I've also given you this for when to use italics, when to underline, and when to quote for titles. Please, let's not shoot in the dark anymore and just sort of guess, but let's actually show that college educated work at hand in the paper and use them correctly when the correct time arises. That is located directly under contact info and syllabus. Now to our current week. This week, you have two separate due dates. The first is on September 29th, and it is the chapter entitled The Surf Boom in Westwick and Neushul. If you have your book, you can use your own, write it in as you will, enjoy. If not, I've included the chapter here for you, and these reading questions that go with it. Pretty self-explanatory. Upload your Word document here as part of the assignment by September 29th at 11:59. That reading is sort of the context for the rest of this. Your next due date is October 1st, and that includes Wolfe and the Pump House Gang. Before you read Wolfe and the Pump House Gang, you need to have read this short little one-page definition of what it is that Wolfe is up to. His style is basically a break from most reporting that came before him by the use of novel techniques that more commonly found in fiction. And this just sort of explains what he was up to, right? It gives you, in fact, it details the 4 techniques that he uses when he is writing in what he calls new journalism. Those 4 techniques you will find featured in the Pump House Gang. So here's the little one-page definition, right, with the 4 techniques. Then here's his actual essay. Read it. Then you're going to use this PowerPoint to sort of analyze the moves he makes and respond to some questions within in a Word document that you upload as part of this assignment. Due by October 1st, 11:59. Then, anywhere within the week that you like, you can begin knocking off some of these video links. This is about 3 minutes. These 2 are a little longer, and this one's a little longer, just to give you some idea. This covers the history of Windansea, the area that these guys sort of occupy. These 2 are raw footages, like sort of a home video mishmash of raw footage of those guys in their natural habitat, sort of getting into hijinks and whatnot. The last is a mini documentary on Greg Knoll, who later became famous for his big wave surfing efforts in Waimea Bay of Hawaii, but also very famous for his early understanding in style and marketing. He is one of those guys who realized that as a professional athlete, if he didn't want to have a regular job, he was going to need to do something that actually kept him surfing all the time. And he realized that trading on his own image and style made him his own commodity, his own company, if you will. And it's sort of a nice departure from, or a nice contrast to, all of them collectively acting as this sort of countercultural group that was a break from the 1950s beach blanket bingo sort of household friendly version of surfing. These guys are the advent of sort of the countercultural, less than wholesome image of surfing that we now know today. So in any order, start picking these off throughout the week. This one, these 2 are the raw footages, and this is the documentary. By the end of the week, here is your version of the weekly response. Once you've done the other two, you will have covered nearly everything that you need. You have one last piece to read, and it's short. It's called Forgiving Tom Wolfe by S.D. Liddick. I'm going to ask you to develop a short response where you handle either both of these as you compare and contrast them together, or just talk about Liddick's piece and then talk about Wolfe's piece. But I want you to answer these questions in a sort of response format about these two pieces, as well as any of the videos. You must include at least one, but any of the videos that you want. How do these versions of a tale or a narrative, particularly that of the Windansea group, affect your reading of the characters involved? What does Wolfe's do for you? What does Liddick's do for you? What do some of the films do for you? And you can even extend that. Does your understanding of the way that these tales are building a character perhaps affect the way that you think of current big names in surfing, if you know any? But you really only need to deal with just your reading of the characters involved, right? If you know some others and this changes the way that you think about others, cool. But this is just what you're asked. How does this frame or perhaps influence your ideas about the surf industry culture and its myths, right? The idea that the counterculture was against the grain and didn't worry about anybody's appreciation for their sense of style. How do these perhaps frame or influence your ideas about those? Any of the videos, these two, and or the chapter, right? So then review the reading from story about subcultural consumption, and you can handle the last question, sort of like a culminating paragraph. How do any of these texts that you've looked at, the films included, about a single group within surfing demonstrate ideas of subcultural consumption? Right? Read this for what that is. Then how do any of these show this stuff? That you put in as a post right here. You're going to reply right here as a post. Yes, the rules about titles still go. Yes, the rules about using quotes still go. You're colleging, right? So the education should be equitable. That is to be completed by Friday, October 2nd at 11:59, right? Then by Sunday at 11:59, you are to respond to two other classmates. For 5 points per response and 10 points of your own post, total of 20. So if you only respond to one, the best you can do is a 15 out of 20. You can't respond to any that has more than 3 responses before you, or at least try not to. Because often what happens is we end up with just, I agree, I agree, I agree. And to get full credit, you have to do more than just, I agree. If they offer an example, you find one that's perhaps a parallel. Or if they give some idea that you maybe have some addition to note, give it to them. Or perhaps they say something that you find somewhat challenging. Okay, how do you represent that disagreement in a way that's fair and also kind? But you need to respond to 2 other people's posts by Sunday. And that is your weekly response. So this post, your initial post, and your 2 responses are your weekly response. Hopefully that clears it up. If you have more questions, you can always email me, and if necessary, we can always put together a Zoom. So again, Westwick and Neuschel, Surf Boom by the 29th. Questions are contained within it. Fairly self-explanatory. Wolfe and the Pump House Gang by October 1st. These at any point, and by the 2nd, you want to post your own response for the week. And by Sunday, you want to respond to 2 others, 2 of your classmates. Okay, that's it. See how you do. Okay, that's it. Again, if you have any questions or concerns or things that you're not sure about, please don't hesitate to email as always. And if necessary, we can set up a Zoom as a class to sort of get all those things answered. It's gaining on Halloween here, so I'll leave you with a good Halloween one, or at least the start of one. Don't worry, they're going to get worse and more. Who changes the tire when the mystery machine has a flat? Scooby-Doo. Trust me, they'll get better by being worse. Enjoy your week. Again, email for questions.